Yeah, just start. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm James Secrest. I'm from BioGravity. I'm local here in the greater Kalamazoo area. I live in Gobles right now. Started off here working at a pet clinic, Million Cups Clinic in Kale Cat Hospital as the manager of the technicians, and then moved to MPI Research in the 90s. From there, moved to Siemens Molecular Imaging. So some of these slides are not popping up. I was in the Navy, so a Navy veteran. I went to college. Those are my colleges. So MPI Research, then worked, that's supposed to be Siemens Molecular Imaging. And then Astellas Corporation after that. And then I came back to MPI Research in 2012. Los Angeles came back. And then MPI Research became a Charles River company, and then became Charles River. And then I started BioGravity. So BioGravity is, we create space in the laboratory. So we have a machine that has space in the incubator. It's called a random positioning machine. So life evolves through gravitational forces, whether you're in the ocean or you're in the air or you're in microgravity and you're falling. So biogravity is a kind of a pun on the term microgravity. Microgravity is basically zero G is what people call it. It's not called zero, it's called zero G, but it's actually microgravity. It's called gravitational unloading. What it really is when you're in orbit, you're falling. You're falling towards the Earth. But because you're in orbit, you never get captured by Earth's gravity, and you just keep spinning until your orbit decays and then you fall. So you're falling always. So what happens when you're falling? Anybody? What happens when you fall? I'm gonna get up here and I'm gonna push you down. What's gonna happen? What's the first thing you do? When you fall, you react, you brace yourself, right? Well, we find that in space, when everything is falling, the same thing happens. When we're looking at it in a micro level, we're looking at cells and how cells react when they're falling. And when cells react, the way cells react when they're falling is kind of like how people react when they're falling. So the cells, you can see the cells on the top. This is grown in a dish in an incubator, and they're all nice and happy, and they're stuck to the dish. We subject these to our device, microgravitational device, which is always in a random position, so that whatever's inside the field never knows where it's going to be next. So lots of things start happening. Lots of new RNA starts being developed, DNA is changing, and the shape and the size of the cells also change. The cells go from being on the dish to detaching and being into clumps. Now, you're a bunch of lemmings and you're about to jump off the cliff. Wouldn't it be better if you got all together and smacked to the ground and half of you would die, but half would live, right? And that's what we want to do as organisms want to live. So we put these organisms in microgravity, and then we look at what they make. They make new novel proteins and RNA sequences that are good for medicine. They're brand new things you can only develop in space. And in our lab, because we have space in the lab. And I'll go back to what microgravity really is. There's different types, right? So neutral buoyancy is if you're floating in the water. Magnetic levitation is, superconductors, and they float, which is not really microgravity because it's actually being held up. Parabolic flight, which is the vomit comet, goes up and down. And then the original microgravity experiments were done on drop towers. They just go on a tower, drop it, and as it's falling, when you get to 13 feet per second, you're at steady state, you're falling, and then things start happening. And then there's the random positioning machine, which is our device. So there's the video that incubator doesn't like. So this is the device inside an incubator, and that's all it does, it spins. Within 24 hours, we see drastic changes in the conformation of the cells, and lots of different signaling going on from the cells themselves. They're changing things. There's proteins that detach them from the dish, proteins that are new proteins that are made that attach them to each other. Then we bring them out of microgravity, they go back to normal state. They all get happy again and stick to the dish. These are strategic alliances. We have global connections. Our device is made in Japan, assembled in Australia, but I'd like to make it here in Kalamazoo. It's very simple, mechanical device, and I think that's it. We create space in the laboratory.